Good morning, Minnesota Twins fans. My name is Seth Stows of Twins Daily, twinsdaily.com, welcoming you to a special Saturday edition of Twins Spotlight. We're just trying different things, finding ways to get a hold of uh, players and get in contact with them and help us all get to know them as more than box names and box scores and stat lines and things like that. So here we are. It's December already, and our guest is Ryan Mason. He was the Twins' 13th round pick in 2016 out of Cal Berkeley. He split last year between the Wichita Wind Surge and the St. Paul Saints. And, we'll get to know him a little bit better. But just a few things. He was pitcher of the month a couple times at Twins Daily over the years. Obviously got promoted this year from AA to AAA. And, of course, as Tom Froman wrote, Ryan Mason and Ryan Mason's beard takes over on the mound for the Saints. So let's, without further ado, bring in the star of this afternoon's show, Ryan Mason and his beard. Ryan, how are you?
Great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, very good. Is the beard kind of your signature thing now?
I think it's just more laziness not to shave.
Trust me, I understand.
Yeah.
Wait till it starts turning silver, then you might want to trim it every once in a while. Well, let's start at the beginning. You grew up in Northern California. I want to say in Auburn. Is that right?
Yep. Auburn, California.
Okay. What are some of your earliest memories of playing baseball, whether in the backyard with your buddies or little league or that type of thing?
Earliest memory is I didn't quite have a grasp when I was this young of what baseball or even pitching really was. But I had infatuation with throwing a tennis ball into the crosshairs of my couch in my living room. I was maybe like 2, 3 years old, and my parents recall this. I would just do this for 6 hours a day, throw the ball in the crosshairs, run, go get it, do it again. So my parents picked up on that pretty quick, and obviously, they're like, "Hey, maybe he's a pitcher." So they brought me to when you were allowed to just play t-ball, and the coach puts the ball on the tee, then you go hit it, and kids kind of run around the bases, and it's just pure chaos. No one's really fielding, no one's getting outs or anything. And I show up to that, and I tell my mom, I said, "Take me home. I'm not doing this. There's no pitching. I can't throw, and I have no interest in this." So she took me home. I didn't even do that level of baseball. And I waited until I was 9 when I could actually start pitching in what was AAA before majors.
Okay.
And I started pitching when I was 9, and they actually put me on the majors side at 9 years old, not just staying in the AAA team. So my first experience was really when I got into Little League.
Wow. Now you're 6'6" now. At least that's what you're listed at. Were you always, one of the taller kids growing up?
Yeah, despite being tall and skinny, I grew gradually. It wasn't short, 10 inches. It was
Right.
I was always fairly tall. When I was 12 years old, I was 5'9". And then when I got into high school, I was actually in earlier high school. I don't know where I'm going with that. I was actually a little bit younger for my grade. So I was 13 when I started high school, and 17 when I graduated, and 17 when I started college. So when I was 13 in my freshman year of high school, I was 6'2" already. And then I was 6'4", 6'5" by 14.
Okay. So what was your high school playing career like? Again, you mentioned you were the youngest probably. Did you have, immediate varsity success, or did you kind of have to grow into that over time and mature and things like that?
I had fairly good success in high school early on. I made it to the JV team my freshman year, and I was 13, 14 years old playing against 14, 15, 16-year-olds. So we had a really good team in that JV team. And then my sophomore year, I got brought up to the varsity team, and I was the ace of the staff sophomore year. Same for junior year and senior year. I had sustained success in high school, despite the age difference.
Did you have pretty good teams, pretty good teammates that
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
also played Division 1 or Division 2?
We had some junior college players, but solid players. My area is pretty competitive. California gets pretty competitive in high school sports, so we would play a lot of Sacramento teams, which is obviously the capital of California and has a lot of talent. And there's I countless big leaguers I can name from the Sacramento area in my age group that we
Sure.
played against. Um, yeah, our team was solid. We were a smaller high school. We have 1,000 students, public school. So it's what's technically Division 4 for California. That would probably be, if you flip it around, probably like a 2A everywhere else in
Yeah.
the country. But one of my close friends, we actually had myself, I was like throwing 88 to 92 in high school. And my friend who ended up playing in the NFL for 4 years was a 6'4" lefty at 295 pounds in high school, throwing 95 from the left side. So
Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
me throwing and then him throwing at the other team. And we had the 2-man rotation in high school. I'd throw a complete game, he would throw a complete game. There's no in between. So teams had a tough time playing us. Even the higher private schools didn't do well.
I was going to say, especially the small school, to have two guys throwing over 90 is,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's like the Max Fried, Lucas Giolito, Jack Flaherty of Southern California.
Yeah, he was hard pressed. He was sent on football. He was a wonderful football player. He played at UCLA. He was committed to Notre Dame. Backed out of that commitment, went to UCLA, and then ended up playing and got drafted by the Raiders. Played for the Raiders, and then he played for the Texans. Played for a few teams. So he had a great career.
And who is that?
Eddie Vanderdoes.
Okay. Did you play other sports in high school or
Yeah, I
other
was a basketball
extracurricular
player.
activities?
I was a basketball player. I ended up leaving basketball for the pursuit of baseball because I would always get injured in basketball. I'd sprain an ankle, twist something. My career ended up being not too bad. I did end on top as the MVP on the team, and then I left. I was like, I can't possibly see myself being anything other than a baseball player, other than if I could possibly golf. But that was conflicting times with baseball schedule.
Right. And you can do that now. How about other extracurriculars? Obviously, you mentioned, kind of being, say, a year ahead of your grade or your age to grade. Were you involved in other activities academically?
Um, Other activities academically, not really. No, I got good grades in high school. I tried, and I had some sort of success in high school, and then obviously it was good enough grades to get accepted into Berkeley and not have to be red flagged in. So I really only had one interest in college, if I could possibly do it, and that was astronomy or physics. But that was such a competitive and time eating degree that it was not feasible to do with baseball schedule. So that was off the table. So I ended up studying legal studies in college. I actually went from history, American studies to legal studies towards the end. So
Okay. That's the voice of Ryan Mason, a relief pitching prospect in the Twins organization. Did great. He had 6 saves, I think, at the St. Paul Saints in the second half of the season this year. One step away from the big leagues. If you have any questions and you're on Twins Daily Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, please feel free to submit them, and we'll ask Ryan as we go here, and I will try to get those popped up on the screen. So if you have any, please feel free to do that. Another quick reminder, if you're listening to this and you want to listen to more episodes of Twins Spotlight, you can go to the Twins Daily podcast, which you can download anywhere that you download podcasts. So did you play, like, and I'm never sure what to call it, like the perfect game or the national circuit, or did you play the area code games or anything like that during high
sure,
school?
yeah. My area, we had the area code tryouts. I did not make the area code team.
Okay.
But I did make it to the tryouts, so that was a great experience. And I played in scout ball which is run by scouts in your local area for pro teams, and that's a great experience as well. You're playing against some of the guys. I play against some of the guys that were already committed to Cal on those teams, so I got to become close friends with those guys before I even went to Cal, and had
That
the
has to
experience.
help.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, my area was saturated in talent, especially my age group. We had JD Davis, who's obviously a really good major league player. We had Rowdy Tellez, also from the Sacramento area. We have Dubon, Mauricio Dubon, plays for the Giants.
Yeah.
I'm missing a lot of players, obviously, off the top of my head, but I mean, we had serious Zach Green.
Okay.
Played for the A's organization, the Giants, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of great talent that I got to play with during the scout ball and during these events like you were mentioning.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. What an experience. Now, you didn't get drafted, I don't think, out of high school, which is really kind of surprising since you were playing so many guys that, were being watched, I would assume. Did you have any interaction with scouts, or kind of the other side is the recruitment process, which is similar, but obviously with a different end goal? What was the recruitment process for you? And was Cal Berkeley the place you wanted to go? Was that your choice all along, or were you interested in looking else? What else was out there?
I was very open. I was. My dream school growing up was Notre Dame. College is a little bit more localized, where like, hey, you're going to see a lot of California. You're going to see a lot of California players at University of California, Berkeley. So finding a Notre Dame coach to come out and watch you play in high school is just not a realistic possibility. So I was open to any school. I just wanted a good education and a power baseball school. And Cal fit those criteria perfectly. And my recruitment process was pretty simple. Cal came out to a couple scout ball events, and they saw me at another smaller event in the local area, going to actually watch another player they've already committed. And I happened to be there throwing, and they liked what they saw, and they talked to me and offered. It was pretty straightforward.
That's awesome. And I mean, you pretty much, when you got there, immediately, if not immediately, went into the starting rotation. Just looking at your numbers that first year, 5-3, 3.76 ERA, 14 games, 11 starts. What was your adjustment period? Obviously, it was fairly smooth, jumping from the high school ranks to college.
Sure. Yeah. I actually earned a spot in the beginning of the season during fall practice and air squads to be the back end of the bullpen for the very first outing and very first series of the year against Michigan, my freshman year. And then my first outing ever in college, I was actually just thrown into the fire. First game of the year. It was the 9th inning tie ball game. I think it was like 2-2, 1-1, something like that. And bases were loaded and there were no outs. And they warmed me up in about 6 pitches and they said, "Hey, you good?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." So they threw me in there and I struck out the next 3 batters in a row in 9 pitches. And that was my first taste of college baseball. Was immaculate inning, bases loaded, 9th inning, and my first game ever. And I went back out there. We didn't win the game in the bottom half of the frame, so I went back out there, got 2 more punch outs, and then we ended up walking them off in the 10th inning. So that was my first experience, and
can only go downhill from there, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, it's going to go way downhill. But I had a good first couple outings, got a save and a win in the first weekend series against Michigan. And then it wasn't very long after that. I got a few more saves, a few more really good innings under my belt. And then they moved me to the Saturday role. And my first start in college was against Fresno State on Saturday. And Aaron Judge was the 4-hole. And
at that time, I remember what you did to him the first time you faced him, right?
I punched him out.
Absolutely. I did see that. Yeah. And he turned out all right.
Yeah, he did. He's had a fine career. But yeah, I just looked at him in the box, and I'm pretty tall, but I'm not very stout. At that time I was maybe 205 at 6'6". That's not very wide. But Aaron Judge was 6'8", I'd say 265, maybe the biggest human being I've ever seen with a bat in his hand.
Yeah.
And his stance changed a lot in college. He actually squats down a little with a little bit more of an open stance. During that time, he was a little bit more upright. So he actually had kind of a hole down and in. He couldn't quite get to it because his length, but he obviously has filled that hole since then. But that was my first outing, threw well, 5 innings, shutout ball. And then they moved me to Friday after an injury. So I remained Friday starter the rest of my freshman year.
In the sophomore year, you're 7-1, 304. Looks like 9 starts, 7 relief appearances.
Yep.
And then your junior year, 6-3, 3.07, 16 starts, 99 2/3 innings.
Mm-hmm.
I read this somewhere, and you can agree or dispute. I'm curious that you didn't get drafted after your junior year, and some of that they thought was probably just due to lack of strikeouts.
Sure.
So it sounds like you went kind of and did your own research, did your own study to kind of find out, okay, what do I need to do to take that next step? What was that process for you? And obviously strikeouts are huge in the game right now. But what was your mentality at that time to kind of push forward?
So my career, I had a philosophy in baseball where this was a different era. Okay, the modern era, and when I was throwing, I know it wasn't in time wise that long ago, but it was a completely different era of baseball.
Yep.
My coach in college would harp, don't be a 5 and dive guy. 5 and dive guy means exactly what it sounds like. It's go 5 innings and you're out of the game as a starter. The modern pitcher, I mean, if you get 5 out of your starter, you are ecstatic.
You're thrilled.
You were absolutely, oh my God, he just shoved. No, actually in college, if you went 5 innings, it was a very negative ordeal. So I wouldn't pitch to strike out anyone in college those first 3 years. I really wouldn't. I'd be on or out in 3 or less. On or out, 3 or less. Down the middle. I wouldn't even get corners called for me because I have a good sinker. And I had a good sinker back in college as well, that I wouldn't really get a lot of damage on these balls put in play, right? We're not seeing roped doubles. We're not seeing homers, that kind of stuff. I never really gave them up. So I would just pitch the middle, fastball changeup, never even mix in a slider, and I would routinely go 6, 7, 8, 9 innings. And my coaching staff, I mean, obviously by my ERA, I mean, I kept my ball club in a lot of games and got a lot of wins. And it was a very successful approach to it, which is, you know, if you have your guy Friday or Saturday starting for you and he gives you a strong outing of 7 or 8, lays off of your bullpen, you have a much greater chance of winning a Sunday baseball game with maybe a starter you're not as comfortable in, who you will have maybe a smaller leash for and take him out of the game earlier, to bring the bullpen in who's completely rested because your guy just went 8 for you. That was our philosophy. So that got me not drafted. I didn't have worse stuff. My philosophy was different. My pitchability was different. Maybe the approach I took was completely not what scouts want to see, which I understand. You know, I get they're doing a job and they're trying to predict the future. It's a very difficult thing to do. But, I mean, message of philosophy gets kind of in disarray sometimes when you're just watching for stuff and numbers, right? Instead of game plan and how to win a baseball game, or think down the line of how to win 3 games in a weekend, which is all that matters in college.
Right.
So I changed my philosophy my senior year. I went after hitters. I was more picky about my location. I pitched away and in, up, down. Slider got introduced, changeups, and my strikeout numbers doubled. Like, obviously, they're going to double. But my longevity that season was maybe an inning and a half less per outing. I mean, that's just hand in hand how it goes. And it's no wonder why you see in the modern age, why you see pitchers, quote unquote, from my coach, 5 and dive, right? My coach in college. But it's because they're hunting for punch outs and they want to make hitters embarrassed about being in the box and punching out 3 times against them. And that's great. And it really, really, really helps, their own stock and their numbers and all that stuff. But if you want to really pitch deep in the ball games, you better be out or on in 3 or less and want to stick around for 7 or 8 innings. But that's just not the modern era.
Yeah. One more question about your time at Cal. The Twins certainly had a link there with yourself, Mitchell Cranston,
Oh,
Alex Schick,
yeah.
Trevor Hildenberger, and I'm sure I'm missing someone there for a while there. I don't know if that was Elliot Strankman at that time or maybe
Yeah, it
Michael
was.
Quesada now. Okay. What was your interaction with the scouts your senior year? Like you
Mhm.
said, you're striking out a little bit more.
Mhm.
Are they talking to you, or are the coaches maybe sheltering you from some of that?
No, 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 no. I was in contact very often. They would come meet me. I was in contact with them in high school. I was in contact with them my junior year in college. I was in contact my senior year, probably more so than ever. Um, I had the draft or bust mentality in college. So I was like, hey, my senior year, if I don't get picked up, I'm not going to go the any ball route. I'm going to go find a job and live my life.
Right.
Honest, at that point in my life, but I was very forthright with the scouts. I said, listen, pick me anytime, anywhere, whatever money. I just want an opportunity to go play the game I love.
Right.
And Elliot said he drafted me after he came to my senior day. This was the last home outing I was going to have at Evans Diamond at Cal. And I was pitching that day during the ceremony. So I came out with my parents really quick. And they listed some accomplishments I made in my career. Like I was second all time in wins, uh, second all time or something in innings pitched total, like win percentage, first all time, like that kind of stuff. And Elliot said a guy that has amounted that kind of a career deserves a shot. So I picked you. And he picked me fairly early. So I'm forever indebted to the chance that he gave me, and it's been my career's goal to kind of vindicate that chance that he took on a guy that doesn't punch out a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, and then you did get drafted 13th round.
Mhm.
Again, we're talking to Ryan Mason here, relief pitching prospect with the Twins. And you went to Elizabethton and you did start there quite a bit. But then by 2017, you kind of made that transition to the bullpen. What was that conversation like? Was it even a conversation? Were you involved in that at all?
Sure.
Or how did you feel about it? Like, well, you're still playing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't start out the best in E-Town, if I'm honest. Not making excuses, but I already had almost 100 innings on my arm by that time from the college season, and I threw another almost 50, and that's by far the most I've ever thrown in a season. I was fairly gassed. So the decision actually towards the end of the year was to put me in the bullpen because I've thrown so many innings that year. I was amounting to 150. Um, and then they kind of saw my velocity spike up in the bullpen a little bit. And I was like sitting 92, touching 95. And they're like, he's done well too. Let's just keep him there. And that was a decision. They talked to me about it. And I said, hey, I have a job. Yeah, I'd love to. And I started mounting some success out of the bullpen starting in 2017.
Yeah, I mean, Cedar Rapids, 29 games, 2.01 ERA. And then you had to start there again in 2018, which I remember even myself not knowing anything was like, why? But that was 3 games worth. And then you got up to Fort Myers. And again, 2.84, 9-3, 5 saves. At what point did you feel comfortable in that role? Or was it ever really a challenge to kind of get into the mentality of a relief pitcher versus a starter?
No, there's a lot of times actually in my career. Obviously, I started out as a closer at Berkeley, my very first outing,
Right.
and I was in the bullpen every now and again in Berkeley. I would actually start sometime. I did this, I think, 2 or 3 times in my career. I started Friday and closed Sunday. I go like 7 or 8 on Friday, then I'd throw an inning on Sunday. But I was comfortable with that role. Like I really was. I love my favorite part actually about closing or late game or back half with a lead or something is you're getting your best from the hitter. And I'm not saying like this to throw any shade at a hitter or anything, but they kind of have this degenerative gambler's math going into the game where they're like, hey, you know what? I have 4 other ABs. Maybe I punched down the first one. I got 3 more.
Right.
I'm going to get mine then. Well, if you get to me in the 9th inning and it's a 1-run ball game and you're 0 for 3, this is your last one. This is your last chance. So I'm going to get the full locked in mode of these hitters every single time. Yeah. They're either going to want to really put it to me and, walk me off and feel the celebration and the excitement and stuff, or they're not going to get that at all. And I'm going to have the last laugh. That's what I love about it. So, I get the best version of every hitter every single time I go out there. And I hope to go out there and give the best version of myself too. Honestly, it's a great battle every single time.
No, that's awesome. I love the mentality. And yesterday I had Jordan Gore on, who of course is just making the transition to the mound. And he talked about being in the bullpen, and he goes, at this point, I love it. He doesn't want to do anything. The juices are flowing and everything. So,
sure.
Again, if anyone's got any questions or comments for myself or Ryan Mason, please feel free to send those in on YouTube or Facebook. Let's just jump to last year. Actually, let's jump to 2020.
Sure.
You were at spring training, obviously getting ready. I mean, I think everybody was there early for spring training for minor league camp in 2020. I was down there at that point, and then all of a sudden you get sent home. What were you able to do during that time? During that 2020 season, how much communication were you in with coaches or coordinators? And just how difficult was it to be able to maintain some sort of a focus, especially after you learned that the season wasn't going to happen?
If I'm honest, there was fairly little communication, if any. They were trying their best, but the problem is if you don't have any information to relay, you cannot relay information.
Yep.
So they had nothing to work off of. They tried their best. Alex Hassan was wonderful in taking basically the heat for it and saying, guys, I have nothing for you. I'm sorry, but I'm here for you. Call me anytime. He was more than eloquent in his words about it. And it was tough. I mean, it was the hardest year that I've dealt with, and probably in the same boat for a lot of people because of COVID, because of difficulty being at home and being locked down during that time. There's a lot of hardship that year for just humanity, and it was pretty similar to the minor league or us trying to make our dreams come true, and you don't even get the opportunity to try. It was hard, but we stayed. I would say 99% of minor leaguers stayed to it, worked even harder, and came back in better shape than they ever have. So, I mean, it was kudos to all of us as players with no direction or guidance to come back and be hungry to actually come back the next season in 2021 and have the years that a lot of players did. And it was remarkable, really.
Absolutely. And then you got that call, probably from Alex as well, about getting the opportunity to go to the development camp. But I mean, I know it was called something different than big league spring training, but you're working out with all the same guys. So it's big league spring training. What was that experience like for you?
I was actually in the same room that I am right now. And I look at the phone. It was Alex on the phone. I'm like, oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is going to be about. And he calls me and says, Mace, we're going to have you for depth camp is what it was referred to as.
Oh, right. Yep.
The big league spring training and be a part of it. We wouldn't rather have anyone else. I was moved, honestly. It was the last thing on earth I was expecting at the moment. I was fully prepared to come late to minor league spring training. And I was moved by it. I told him thank you a million times, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I won't let you down. And I went there and threw the ball well. Stayed relatively healthy, and was very, very, very grateful for the experience and the opportunity.
Now, again, they're starting to rotate. The Twins didn't have a good season last year. I don't think anyone could sugarcoat that at all. But I mean, at spring training, you had Maeda, Barrios, Pineda, and even Happ and Shoemaker have a ton of experience. And in the bullpen, you've got, Colomay and Rogers and Duffy. And I mean, I know a lot of, at least Rogers and Duffy, you've probably known for quite some time, but was it just a little different? Did you grasp anything from just watching them, being around them, seeing how they do things?
I mean, baseball wise, I'm in the firm belief that baseball, no matter what level you go to, is baseball. And at the end of the day, I still have a ball in my hand that's 60 feet 6 inches, and the batter wants to hit something off of me. So I've never been like, hey, here's a moment, it's too big for you kind of thing, and you're going to get exposed. I've actually seen it quite the opposite. Like, hey, if the moment's bigger, let's try our best and see if we can do better. I learned when I was up there that these guys that are major leaguers, perennial major leaguers, and I'm talking guys I looked up to when I was younger, are just normal, everyday dudes. They're really good people. And that's what I took away from, is that you can have a conversation with them and they are open, easy to talk to, joke around. I mean, it's just the same environment as anywhere you'd hope. And it was a really cool experience to be able to see that.
Yeah, and remembering the olden days when we could, as media, go into the clubhouse, that was my first thing. Is you see these names and people on TV, and then you meet them, and they're just regular people, which to me is so cool. And again, one of the reasons why I enjoyed doing this. So you got to spend April in St. Paul. What happened, of course, was the minor league season started a month later, and they did have people in St. Paul just so that they could have transactions happening. What were you doing anything different at that point, or probably the same things that they were doing down in Fort Myers in April, right?
Yeah, it was mostly inter squads and as much practice as we could possibly do due to weather. There were some days we had snow flurries. Some days it was really clear out, but just brutally cold. So, the coaching staff really tried their best to just make health a priority, get your work done as much indoors as possibly in the cages as possible, and get your throwing in when you're good and warm, that kind of stuff. And we had a great time. I mean, that was a really good experience for myself. There's some players, obviously, quite a few that either were in the big leagues the year before or were at an alt site somewhere during that season in 2020. So they're used to it. I was not. I thought it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then you started the season in Wichita, and I wanted your thoughts on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the two pitching coaches were Virgil Vasquez and Luis Ramirez.
Yep.
And then Ramon Borrego as the manager as well. How was that, having two pitching coaches? You did the year before too, or in 2019 as well. But how did that work out? And then what were you able to glean from two voices?
Oh yeah, I mean they're tremendous people. They really are, both of them. Louis is a wealth of knowledge, and he is just such a great person to be around. He keeps everything light. He is such a good coach in general, and he has a good feel for keeping people on track and on time, doing your job accordingly, being adult, that kind of stuff. He really has a good knack for keeping you in that line. And then Virgil is the one who, if you have something going on in your life, or you have some mental stuff or some mechanical problem, anything in that realm, Virgil is an absolute master. And I leaned on Virgil quite a bit to go through some mental stuff going on, during some skids, during some tough times, maybe some stuff at home is going wrong. And he is the utmost class act when it comes to listening to his players. And Louis is right there with them. They both will just listen to you talk, and that's such a great experience. And Ramon, I can't say enough great things about Ramon. I've been with Ramon for 3 straight years, and every single season I've been with Ramon has just been an excellent experience. And I wouldn't trade my experiences with Ramon or those great coaches I had for anything, really. I'll have those memories till I die.
And in there, you were, coming in relief, you and Moran and Yennier Cano, and the list goes on and on. There was some talent on that Wichita team. Now, you got called up halfway through the season, so you didn't go to the playoff side of it. But It had to be fun going to the field every day, knowing you had a chance to win a ball game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that team was stacked with talent. I mean, a lot of people don't know this because they've seen inconsistency if you just stare at just strictly number-based stuff. But Giovanni Moran might be, and I've said this to a lot of people, might be the most unhittable pitcher I've ever seen. When he feels right, when everything's healthy, when his mind is sound, he is by far the most talented pitcher I've ever played with and maybe ever seen opposing. Um, I've never seen more hitters strike out. I've never seen more hitters just easily strike. I've never seen more 3 strikeout innings in 12 pitches, and it's just effortless. It really is. He goes out there, throws fastball, changeup. You can throw 3 fastballs. You can throw 3 sliders, which are technically seen to be his weaker pitch. It doesn't matter because his fastball is so good. Yeah. They're going to get out. I've been with Giovanni we're working on 4 years together, and his special talent. And I'm sure he'll have a breakout season in the big leagues. And they're going to lean on him pretty heavily, I'm sure, when they start seeing what he can actually do. Yenier is one of my favorite players, period. His English, he doesn't speak very much, but we communicate in other ways, and he is a phenomenal person. Just such a great, happy person to be around in the clubhouse, and that's just a great person to be around just in general to make you just have a better time. And it helps that he throws 99 and slings it from sidearm. I mean, that works too. That's tough to hit anywhere. But that Wichita team, when we had that group of guys in the very beginning and the talent level that we had, I don't know of a lot of teams that I saw, even in AAA, that would compete with that early team. Not compete, obviously they'll compete, but I'm saying we're going to lose a lot of games kind of deal. I just couldn't see that happening. There's going to be no point in time that this team is going to sit there and be like, we're being outclassed. I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. That's just such a talented team. And then when we received Jordan Gore, yes, we lost a few guys, but when we received Jordan Gore, it's the same deal. We just swapped dominant for dominant. So what are you going to do if we have a lead in the back half of the game? You're probably not going to win that game.
Yeah. Well, and just to touch on a couple of those points, I mean, Moran, I hope I say that right. Mm-hmm. It was probably good just to get him a few opportunities in September, just to get that kind of off of his shoulders. I was going to ask you, though, but both of those guys speak Spanish.
Yeah.
How is your Spanish? Have you ever considered getting like Rosetta Stone or anything like that? I'm kind of joking here, but at the same time, there's got to be value in understanding and communicating with each other on a level beyond just the baseball field too.
Sure. Yeah. No, Giovanni's English is wonderful.
Okay.
I mean, he's a U.S. citizen from
right,
but Yenier's English, he's learning. He's trying really hard, but it's 100% Spanish based if you want to communicate. So I just use Giovanni a lot if I want to speak with Yenier. My Spanish is not nearly good enough to have conversation or speak fluent sentences with. So I just make translation with Giovanni. Giovanni passes it on to Cano.
Okay. So you get moved up to St. Paul. Little different atmosphere there because I went to 2 games at the end of the season, and there were a lot of former major leaguers, a lot of guys that were 30 or older. Aside from, say, yourself and Mark Contreras and Miranda. And I think, there's just Celestino, a lot of veterans with a lot of experience, a lot of talent. What was that experience like for you relative to Wichita, where you may have been one of the most experienced players?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I didn't really play with a lot of those players in Wichita ever, other than Giovanni and a few other returners.
Sure.
Like Caleb Hamilton. I played with him for a long time since E-Town.
Yeah.
AAA was like piercing a veil. It was a veil of unknown, basically, I've never been to this level. I see the roster. I know who's on this roster. I did get to spend time with them in the alt site, some of them. But it's piercing a veil of hey, like now your teammates have serious time in the big leagues. Now your teammates have this, that, accolades. They've had serious success in the sport of baseball, and it's really cool. So what did I do? I tried to sit down and I tried to just be myself, make jokes, and I tried to pick some knowledge from them. Like Nick Vincent was a wealth of knowledge. We actually just referred to him as dad the whole time. Well, he has children, obviously, but because he's like, the dad of this bullpen.
Yeah. But he's
And
also got big, like 10 years of big league
yeah,
experience.
he was a wonderful person to talk to in the bullpen and to kill time with and to ask question after question of like, how was this? What was that like? And uh, I mean, it was just everyone there. Basically, you could just pick their minds or brains at any time and get a wealth of knowledge. And it was a lot of fun to do so. It's a little bit more AAA being that as it is with a lot more experience and stuff. It is more of a relaxed environment. It is more of a relaxed environment where like now they fully put the power of your career in your hands, where it's show up whenever you feel is fit, get your work done. We're not going to monitor you. You're more than a grown adult now. You are one step away from the big leagues. And take care of your business. There will be opportunities for you to go take care of your business with a coach if you need instruction. And the coaching staff up here is going to work their tail off to just be there for you at every waking turn, like Mike McCarthy was and Sidney Bale both were. At any turn you just ask, they're there. But you have to go ask. They're not going to set things up for you as a player and be like, hey, 12:30, you better be here and do this, and we're going to work on this. No. Be an adult, be a man. Go up to them, say, hey, could you work with me with this? And they'll say, of course. So that was a different experience.
That's fantastic. And obviously playing for Toby Gardenhire, I'm sure you've been with him a little bit, maybe in Fort Myers or something.
Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids. Okay. And obviously Mike McCarthy heading to the Padres, Matt Borgschulte heading to the big league, Baltimore Orioles, and getting that opportunity that, once you're done as a player, you become a coach, maybe the goal remains the same, and let's get to the big league. So good for him. Sure. But I've got to ask, I mean, you put up tremendous numbers when you got to St. Paul. I think you had maybe a game or two right away, but once you got going, man, you put up some numbers in St. Paul. And that, I guess my question is kind of along with the Borgschulte thing, you are one step away, you are one phone call, one injury, whatever it happens to be. Have you allowed yourself time yet to kind of think that through and what that might mean?
I mean, if it does happen, I can't control that. Obviously, it's depending on a lot of factors, but if that does happen, that will be the biggest level of achievement in my life. And fighting and clawing as a senior sign, no investment, to get to the big leagues in a long process of a full minor league contract would be the pinnacle of achievement. And it'll probably break me down, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to say that, but I will probably break down after the trials and how hard it's been to just get to this spot. But they owe me nothing. I got to always tell myself that and be conscious that the Twins don't owe me anything. They don't owe me a chance in the big leagues. They don't owe me a chance in spring training or the big league spring training or anything, really. They don't owe me anything. So if you expect to be called up, even with the mounted success, if you expect it, it will drive you insane. And it will actually just have the negative effect of you're probably going to it's going to wear on you. You're going to throw worse, that kind of stuff. And that's not what I'm looking to get when I'm one step away. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to let the moment, if it does happen, be the moment. I'm going to let it do to me what it's going to, but I can't possibly think about it too much because it will drive me insane,
Yeah. Well, and again, you're right. They don't owe you. My personal opinion is they owe Drew Maggie, but that's a completely different story, and I'm going to leave that one alone. But you got the chance. You were up there when Giovanni got his call to the big leagues, several others probably, and you've been teammates with a lot of guys that are part of the 2021 or even the previous year's Twins team. Or I know Jalen Davis was with you when he got called up by the Giants, and I know you've been a teammate of Lewin Diaz, who's getting an
Yep.
opportunity here and there with the Marlins. Is that motivational to you, or are you just simply these are friends and I'm excited for them?
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited for them. When I hugged Giovanni when he got called up. I mean, I did. I just sat there and hugged. I was like, "You deserve this, buddy. I've been telling you this since you were in Wichita. You deserve this." And I'm proud of you. And I really was so happy to see him make it, and everyone that's ever made it. I really am truly happy to see people achieve their dreams because I know the work that went into that. There's no way you should have ill feeling for someone making it. There's no way, especially after playing with them. There's what went into making it. You know the how hard it is to be away from your family, to not have a familiar face at any given city that you live in that they send you to, and just fighting it out during the hard times and the great times. And they ended up making it. You got to smile and be so happy for them because it's a great achievement. It really is. Um, that being said, there's a lot of players who I've played with, and if a really fun task could be if you could pull up roster, the whole roster throughout the whole year of the 2018 Fort Myers Miracle, the championship team we were on. If you could pull up that whole roster and just name out how many big leaguers were on that team, I think you'll laugh at it because it's quite a few.
Well, I always talk about the 2008. Well, what would that have been? 2018 Cedar Rapids team has had a ton of guys in the big leagues as well. I'm going to do that just because, but I'm going to ask you this question. What does your off season look like as far as baseball goes? Have you started throwing? Do you start working out? When are you really kind of starting to get going, especially, not knowing what's going to be going on with spring training at this point?
Sure. I got going about a month ago. I'm getting going earlier. I'm getting a little older. Body's starting to take a little bit more care to get it ready. So I start earlier, going to get throwing. I already started throwing. I'm going to start throwing bullpens and stuff here within the week. And I'm going to maintain 2 bullpens a week probably until I report to whenever spring training will be. And
Okay.
yeah, I just want a good solid base of a lot of throwing, heavy throwing, to make it seamless in transition when I start facing hitters again.
2018 Fort Myers Miracle at that time. Luis Ariz, Travis Blankenhorn, Byron Buxton played one game there as a rehab. Jalen Davis, Lewin Diaz, Alex Kirilloff, Jorge Polanco was 2 games. Ben Rortvedt, Miguel Sano had his month there. Aaron Whitefield did get that opportunity. Charlie Barnes, Edouard Colina, Brusdar Gratterol, Phil Hughes was 2-0. Griffin Jacks, yourself, Trevor May, Giovanni Moran, let's see, Sean Poppin, Cody Stashak, Andrew Vasquez, Tyler Wells. It's an impressive list, and it'd be awesome to join that one, huh?
Yeah. How about that, team?
And I'm going to just ask this because I see his name on my laptop now. Calvin Fauché was really struggling with Wichita. He goes to Tampa and somehow completely turns it around, and now he's on the 40-man roster of the Rays. What can you tell us about him? It sounds like when he got traded, I saw a lot of tweets from teammates that really were happy for him and things like that.
Absolutely. And if I had
the Rays do something,
done the same. Calvin, I'm so proud of. I'm so happy for. Sometimes it literally just comes down to a change of scenery at the end of the day. Maybe your ball starts rolling the wrong direction early in the season and it starts weighing on you early that there's no possible way for me to get this ERA, FIP, any number you want to throw at it down because I've started off poorly, bad luck. There's a lot of things that can go into it. And that can weigh on someone. It really can. Like you could be like, now you're pressing, you're trying too hard, you're trying to strike everyone out to make your numbers look just. I think that might have been a case. I think Calvin got unlucky, gave up some hits, some untimely stuff, and he just started weighing on himself as like, hey, like how can I get this down to back to what I'm I should be at. And then the trade happened, and he's got wonderful stuff. He really does. He spins the baseball so beautifully. He throws hard. He has a great curveball, good hard slider, cutter. He has a lot of great things. And maybe the Rays just giving him an opportunity and a clean slate was enough to just be like, hey, you know what? They believe in me. Same with the Twins. I'm not saying they didn't, but this team obviously believes in me. They traded a massive trade deal for me. So let's just go. And he had great success in AAA, and I'm so proud of him. And I think it just comes down to that.
Yeah, no, great point. Last few minutes here with Ryan Mason, Twins relief pitching prospect. I had Royce Lewis on here last year, right before spring training, right before in fact, I think the day before he headed to Fort Myers. And a question came in asking who would make the most sense to be a bench coach, or which of his former teammates would be a good bench coach. And then we kind of talked about what that means: a guy that listens, a guy that understands the technical side of the game, understands the analytical side of the game. And he tried to come up with a name, and he mentioned actually you as the teammate that probably would make the best bench coach because of just one, you being smart, but two, you being just analytical and into all of that type of thing. I'm not even going to ask if you're into or if you're even thinking about coaching down the line, but I am curious. How much of this have you enjoyed as far as the technical, the Rapsodo, the technology, the analytics? Do you enjoy that, or was it a struggle finding how to use it for you?
Sure. That Royce he's great. Thank you, Royce. If you're watching, I appreciate that a lot. And that kid, believe it or not, actually loves to learn as well, and he's astute, and he wants to be a student, and he does a great job of just trying to pick everyone's brain and try and be. He's worked himself into being a leader in the organization. It's wonderful to see, especially watching him as he first came in. To the point of analytics, I find a lot of great use out of analytics. Obviously, it tells a deeper story of what you're seeing. So you can use a lot of different metrics. You can use a lot of different things in Rapsodo data, in Hawkeye data, in TrackMan data to see what a pitch is actually doing. But there are blind spots. Analytics has blind spots. There are the immeasurables that drive very smart people insane. The clutch gene, that kind of stuff. Right. Or like I was alluding to earlier, the lock it in phase. This guy's 0 for 3. It's a 9th inning. This is his last chance. He's really going to try and lock it in here. Or if a guy's just downright for like the month of, let's go with
Eddie Rosario in the playoffs.
Sure. Let's go with the month of May. And a guy's just locked in the whole month and he's just hot and he's hitting some absurd number. These are metric things that you can't quantify.
Right.
These are things that are the it factor that people look for. Do they show up in the big situation? Are they David Ortiz? Are they Mr. November? Are they Derek Jeter? There's no metric for that. I'm sorry. There's the clutch gene. They're trying to do some clutch stuff and make metrics a little different for playoff runs and stuff. I know that. But in terms of just the everyday season, it's just there's some holes. And I'm not downplaying analytics. I'm actually quite the opposite. I'm a huge believer in the fact that it could tell a great story and it can paint a great picture of success and possibly be able to predict success. But I don't think to the degree of 100% certainty. So I think the eye test still works in baseball. Personally, I think if you see someone and you're like, this guy has it, whatever it is, it's going to drive an analytical person crazy that you're saying this, but he has it. I'm sorry. Like there's something you see where you see Luis Arias maybe scrunch up there in the box, bat on his shoulder, just staring both eyes at the hitter, and everything he's saying in his mind, you could just tell through the image of the screen. And being his teammate, he's telepathically telling the pitcher, you cannot get a single thing by me.
Yeah.
And that's the fact of it. I'm sorry. You're not going to punch me out. I'm going to battle you for 10 pitches, and I'm going to put one right over your head up the middle for a single. And I'm going to do that 30% of the time in my career.
At least, yeah.
So that's just it. I'm sorry. Like his damage done, his slugging, all that stuff. He hits singles. He doesn't have a lot of pop, but you know what? He is invaluable because the pitcher knows when he comes up, he's about to waste 10 pitches on this at bat, and everyone else behind him is going to see everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of times just the day to day, there's too many other factors that go into it. I think it's great for front offices in the off season, or yourself maybe to use in the off season, or when you get enough of a sample size. But to go game by game, there's just so many variables in a human game.
Sure, absolutely. Can't take all of the human out of it.
Yep. You are about to get married, not today, but coming in the coming weeks. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you very
Second
much.
of all, how are the plans? You got everything set? I know your fiance. I asked you earlier if all the written stuff behind you was analytical pitching kind of stuff, but you said it wasn't.
No.
I imagine this is a busy time for the two of you.
Yeah, it is. She's going through medical school, and she's in finals currently. And I mean, despite even her being in medical school and me having a lot more time than she does, she's taken over the wedding planning. She did such a wonderful job. She really did. During all this stress and all this stuff, she's just killed it. And the wedding's supposed to be and will be beautiful in Lake Tahoe. And I can't wait. It's in a couple weeks, and I'm more excited than I ever have been.
No, that's fantastic. And I like to ask away from baseball, because I'm a big believer that you can't do baseball 100% of the time. What are some of the things you enjoy doing, whether it's hobbies or just things to pass the time?
Golfing mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been a big golfer for a long time. I used to be a lot better when I put a lot of time and effort into it in the off seasons. I don't do that as much anymore, but still, it's my biggest passion away from baseball.
Teammate or yourself, who is the best player, golf player?
Me.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be honest. Sorry, but Brent Rooker's a great golfer. As of recently, we've been playing together because he lives in this area too.
Yeah.
We've been either 1 or 2 stroke difference, so he's really cleared the gap of what it used to be. That's just me not playing anymore, though, unfortunately. But he has gotten a lot better. Ben Warfet took golf up within like the last year and a half, and he's improved quite drastically. And I'm actually excited to see how he looks when he comes back swinging it. I'm sure he's gotten a lot better too, but
I don't know. His arms are too massive.
he's super flexible still somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but he can do the splits.
Incredible athlete with that strength. It's amazing.
Yeah, but unfortunately, if I were to play anyone in the organization 10 times, I don't have anyone beating me majority.
All right. Two more questions and I'll let you go. Number one, obviously, those of us on Twitter and Facebook and social media have gotten a chance to know your mom because she likes all of that. But I do want to give you an opportunity. I mean, your parents, obviously, you've mentioned, have been a big part of your baseball, but obviously life and such. Talk about them, but also others that you feel really, kind of need to be talked about as far as helping you get to this point in your career.
Sure. I mean, my mom and dad have been monumental in my entire career. They've always been there for me. They know what to do when I have a bad outing, and that's rare. And they know what to say. My dad especially knows what to say whenever something's going on. He actually does a great job with watching me and telling me what I'm doing that might need a bit of attention from a coach. Like, hey, you're landing flat-footed. You got to get your toe up, that kind of stuff. Like, you need to push off the front, like that kind of stuff. So I go up to a coach and he said, yeah, you're absolutely landing flat-footed. You need to be toe up when you land, heel first. And he's right. There's countless things growing up that I could just sit here all day and mention about my mom and dad taking me to travel ball teams. They still work full-time jobs. I mean, it's not easy to work that in, but they were more than gracious in doing that my whole life. Anything I needed, they were there. And they're probably the biggest reason why I am where I am and who I am. I have friends and family back home. My brother has always been supportive and always there for me. My godparents, Mike and Renee, have been there for me my entire life and been always the big. They try their best to come out to a trip a year, and they're always going to be there. Uh, One of my really close friends from back home, Josh Brunsman, comes out literally and surprises me every single season at a random location. Does not tell me a thing. I can get him a discount. I can get him tickets to he doesn't care. He just shows up. He did it in St. Paul the last week of the season, and he went to the bullpen and was like, "Hey, Ryan." I was like, "Oh gosh." No, there's so many people that I'm going to forget, obviously, and the time. Obviously, my fiance this season, it was very difficult for her being in school and medical school, and me being gone for the first time that she's experienced. And we were rock solid together the whole year, and I couldn't have done the year that I had without her. So yeah, there's a lot of people I could be thankful for.
Yeah, I know that's one of those questions you almost hate to ask because, like,
yeah, you're gonna forget a bunch of people who are gonna text me and be like, "Yo, what up?"
Yeah, remember me? All right, well, I'm going to let you go with that. I definitely appreciate your time. It's been an hour, and I apologize to some level on that, but I've also really enjoyed it, and obviously wish you very happy wedding.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to you and your family, and obviously just enjoy your off season. Play some golf, and hopefully spring training gets going and in early February or mid-February, and you can be back at Big League Camp and have a great 2022 season. Hopefully getting that one call that I know everyone wants for everybody, but for yourself too. So congratulations on all the success so far. Best wishes going forward.
Thank you, Seth. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Ryan Mason. Thank you, everyone, for listening live or later. Please feel free to leave some feedback. This will be available on the Twins Daily podcast shortly. And I definitely thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with a couple more episodes. And of course, go Twins.